101. First and foremost, welcome. We got OG Kunta, one of the guys whose names that, if you're from the city, it just rings, and it should ring bells, man. You didn't put in the work, you didn't put in the time. And as we tell these prison stories, before we even get into it, we always like to know the who, what, when, why, and where.
Right.
So as we do it, I'd like to allow you to introduce yourself as far as who you are.
Okay. First of all, brother, thank you for having me on, Joker, my guy. I appreciate that, man. I received this welcoming, bro, with I'm amazed, man. The setup, everything was 100%, brother. I'm OG Kunta, you know what I'm saying? King Kunta, you know what I'm saying? To those who really know what I truly stand on, and to the streets, I'm known as OG Kunta. I'm from Fort Worth, Texas. I'm from a city, I'm from a side of the city called Poly, Polywood, Polyhood. That's a neighborhood that's predominantly Crips. 4 Trey and 5 Deuces is the predominant sets over there. You got some 107s over there too, some Hoovers. But my neighborhood is specifically Crippin'.
So what we try to do, and again, we're going to go as far as into the what got you into the locked up and just all right. That. But for people to understand how much time you did, to kind of get an understanding, how much time did you do and when did you do it?
Okay, well, I got locked up in like 94. I ended up doing 6 years. And that's, we'll get back into that. But I ended up doing 6 years, day for day. And the unit I was sent to, a couple units, 3 units. But the worst one was Ferguson.
Yeah, Gladiator School.
The Gladiator, yeah, unit.
With that being said, we have the win. You just spoke on the where as far as Ferguson, as far as units, but where was the crime committed as far as what county?
It was committed in Tarrant County.
Okay. And when we go back to who was the victim of the said crime that they end up locking up?
The victim of the said crime's name was Derry Merritt. Okay. He was shot almost fatally at a KFC on Rosedale in Fort Worth. And it was multiple assailants, you know what I'm saying? It was real messed up situation. I myself, I wasn't even there.
Wow.
I didn't see it.
Can you explain, as far as just from what you know, what happened in that scenario, from, just from what you know, what they presented to you, like, hey, here's what happened?
Yeah, because, of course, they came to me with the narrative, you know what I'm saying, of how they wanted me to be a rat, you know what I'm saying, because that's how I got involved in it. The whole scenario, of the case in the first place was they wanted me to rat, but the police said that this gentleman and his lady friends, they was, pulling through a drive-through, getting an order of chicken. And some gentlemen pulled up behind them and got out their cars and shot them up real bad, and the dudes got away, you know what I'm saying? And the police, they had to make their report and the witnesses and everything. So they had a vivid description of the assailants, but, with the twists and the turns of how, injustice works, or how, just being a black person going into the court systems, we always end up getting, screwed around. So they came to me, the police, they asked me, hey man, they explained the scenario just like I told you, they said that somebody had gotten shot. And then they say, well, we need you to be a witness for us against these guys. And I was like, nope, I can't be a witness. I didn't see it. I don't know what happened. How can you make me say something that will be basically a lie? He said, it doesn't matter if it's a lie. It's what we say. It's the narrative that we say. And if we put you on the stand, you don't have a record, you know what I'm saying? You have a juvenile record, but you don't have an adult record. We could get these guys sent away for a long period of time. And I disagreed, and I told him, I was like, man, I'm not going to be able to do that, because I knew the guys that he was like, because he named the guys who were involved. They named off every person that was involved in the shooting to me. And then I was like, no, I'm not gonna, be able to cooperate.
Yeah.
So this when it took a turn because then they said, well, if you don't say that they did it, we're gonna say that you did it.
Wow.
That's what the cops did to me. My first time going to prison.
Wow.
Yeah.
At that time, what age were you?
I was 16. I wasn't even an adult.
In those cases, they can't see your shoes, but of course, you have the blue rag on your shoes.
Yeah.
Can you explain as far as what 1994, 1993, what that looked like as far as in Fort Worth, the Crip and gang culture, the Crip and blood culture, the gang culture, because that's when it was almost at its
peak.
Max at its peak.
It was maxed out. It was pretty much a war, a real one. Well, it was plenty casualties. People were being shot. Gunplay everywhere. Everybody, got their colors on because by that time, Truman Street had stepped out. You know what I'm saying? Truman Street is one of the original blood sets or the original blood set in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
And I know Lonzo, I know, all the Truman, I know a good deal of those guys. And we got into it. The Crips and the Bloods got into it real bad. So it was bodies after bodies falling, everywhere, pretty much in 1994.
Were the Bloods, did they seem like they were a stronger unit back then as far as in that area?
No, they had to be, because they were the minority.
Okay.
They had to be, You had to be a real, to be surrounded by hyenas, literally, like, you know what I'm saying? And you gonna have to go hard,
Yeah.
So the whole Fort Worth is pretty much Crippin', and it's just stop 6 that's Bloods. So they were very outnumbered, and it was always really pretty much unfair for them. So they pretty much, they didn't venture out, and the ones that did, they would smoke you right where you stand if you got in their way.
So it goes to the why. When we look at, when you ask yourself, why did I land in prison? I want you to kind of reflect on as far as what in your life circumstances made the cops even look at you as a person who we could get him because you're in this lifestyle. We got you. Whether your parents, what was it that got you to the point where you're sitting in a prison cell damn, what?
Well, honestly, I think it was destiny. Because, having the name Kunta made me divinely guided, The Creator has always gifted me throughout my life with extraordinary teachers, extraordinary examples. Having the name Kunta meant that I had to build up courage to face a society that was racist systemically, socially, Having this name Kunta brought me so much, judgment, from my people, from people who do not even understand the name and for people who hated the name, I was dealing with ignorance, in 360 degrees. And Kunta is my birth name. My birth name is Kunta Kinte. I was given that name. 1977, when the movie Roots came out,
yeah,
my mother named me that as she birthed me into this world, my G.
Did she tell you why she named you that?
Yeah. Let me tell you something powerful. My mother said she was given inspiration by the Creator to name me that. The same thing that they did to Kunta when he was born, they held him up in the air and prayed over him and everything. Some people came to my mother when they found out that my name was Kunta. I went through that same rites and Apache and ritual. And then let me tell you this. I'm really my smarts, my intelligence, it's God-given.
It's divine, yeah.
It's God-given. I be on this internet and I be you're just really trying to get people attention to really bait them in to what, I really have in store, for everyone. I'm my shell, I was, a gang member, and that's what life dealt me. Being a gang member, joining the gang, when you have the name Kunta, life don't deal you too many benefits. You see,
kind of starting at the bottom of the bottom.
Exactly. So I rode with what was available to me socially as far as what I could obtain status in. See, the society has shut me down for having the name Kunta. I can't even tell you the
I can't
anguish.
imagine the grade school, going to school and just looking at your name on paper.
Man, I can't even tell you how frustrated I was in school, bro, with people who gave me F's, failed me because my name was Kunta and they were white and they didn't like that name. Failed me on purpose, and basically tried to make me always look dumb. And I was actually intelligent.
Yeah, that's I can only imagine, because this is the times where they were trying to, Rodney King, LA riots.
Right.
This is the time where they see you in there.
Brother, I went through a systemic time. Brother, having the name Kunta meant I got picked on from the moment I come out of my house. And anybody who knew my name, the neighbors, the kids, everybody, they would call me African booty scratcher. Yeah. I mean, people would ask me, am I from Africa? I got all the stereotypes, and this, it's really like the creator, the Most High, what he does when he sees, what the situation, when God looked at my situation, he knew that I was going to be somebody great. So he put me through things that chiseled me and that made me like a pearl. So I admit my life was full of a lot of suffering, a lot of heartache, a lot of regret, a lot of rejection. People hate me on the internet right now, and they don't know I'm really moving like Elon Musk. I'm moving like Nicholas Tesla up here. No cap, But if people get to know me, they will know. And then everybody that know me in my neighborhood, I'm a pillar. I looked into into spirituality. How you take your spiritual journey. When I got to prison, I took a spiritual journey. And really, I was terrible at first when I got to prison. I was like, could you imagine being an innocent man and then they turn you into the zoo, an innocent man, and
you're not supposed to make it out of that.
Here you go with the lines.
That's to break you.
Man, let me tell you, okay, let me tell you. I'm going to tell you an ugly story. This one is a foul. Okay, this one I realized that I had power with my tongue. When the scriptures speak about taming the tongue and having power with what the words you speak.
Yeah.
I was in the county, and it was a group of skinheads in the pod next to me. I was on 26D, and they was on 26C, and this is in the old side of the jail in the county of Fort Worth. And they had these white boys. They really wasn't segregated, but they had them enough in there where they felt like the numbers were, nobody would punk them out, One night they made a racist joke about, a melanated woman, And they said, well, what's the difference between a black Cadillac and a black girl? Bro say, I don't know. I know they both ride nice. And I was enraged by it. So I woke up all the brothers over there. And I say, man, these guys over here are skinheads, man. Y'all need to bust them up, And if y'all really love black people, and y'all really believe in the revolution, then let them have it, because they don't probably need to be, around us no more with those type of jokes. So the brothers got up, man, and they beat the brakes off every white boy over there. I'm talking about beat them up so bad, bro, to where they was green, yellow, purple, blue, black, orange, red, and some more colors. And come to find out, they was over there raping this white boy who was actually what they call an N-lover, an N-word lover. They was raping him. So they really got what they deserved. But by the time they looked into the damage, because when they come in, the police come in, they gotta come and do a walkthrough and look at everybody's face to make sure everybody's not beat up and nobody's getting beat up. So by that time, when they walked through to see the white guys beat up, they called in all the people, to get them out of there because they was all beat up, right? Yeah. And they got all the beat up white boys. By that time, the white boys, as they was leaving, they was cursing me out. Like, we hate you. And we're going to get you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm laughing at them like, yeah, that's what y'all get. I bet y'all won't say nothing else. So they tell the warden of Tarrant County that I was the one who incited the riot, right? And I was the one who got them beat up. So the warden comes to my cell, to my what you call it, and say, where is the nigga Kunta? white man, pale, gray hair, wears glasses. I'll never forget his face. He probably dead by now. It's been so long, you know.
Yeah.
And that time he was very old. But he came and said, "Where's the nigga Kunta?" And then, you know me, I'm horrible. I say, "Here I am. I just got through effing your mom." You know, that's what I told him. So guess what he did? He took me to 19A, where all the Bloods were housed at, and put me on the tank with them.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did that turn out?
Bro, it was horrible at first because the Bloods, you know, automatically they segregated because there's so few. So when they finally run into a Crip, it's like you finna get the worst of the worst, you know. You finna get piss thrown on you. You finna get poop thrown on you. People finna make spears and try to stab you. And I got all these threats, like, we gonna spear you when you come through here, you know, because I'm a Crip. I'm never gonna stop being a Crip. So when I was moved over there, they like, who is that in 10 cell? And I'm like, OG Kunta. I didn't say OG, because I went OG then. I say Kunta, you know. And then, what you bang? It's like, you know, 8th Street Crip. Oh man, they went to kicking on the thing, talking about I was never gonna get no sleep. They were gonna make noise every day. They was gonna keep me miserable in there, bro. But then one of the brothers, Low B, shout out to Low B. He was from Como.
Yeah.
He told all of those brothers in there to be quiet. He said, "Man, don't y'all see this? Something's wrong with this picture." He said, "Why would they move him over here? And they know what he is. I know he on gang fab, just like we are. So they gotta be trying to make us hurt him on purpose, bro." So, you know, he was a conscious brother.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Man, let's not fall into the trap that they setting for us to harm this brother. Because he gotta be somebody important, because I ain't never seen him do this." He say, "Look," I say, "Man, I don't even know you, bro, but you need to be reaching out to your family and trying to get the news in here, because this, what they did to you, could get them sued for real, because they really endangered your life on purpose." So the Bloods, they chilled out. So the racist, you know, cops, they came the next day to see if I was gonna be hurt or what was going on. It was too quiet. So they looked and they seen that we was all talking and chilling and everybody was friends. They got mad. They got mad because the Bloods didn't want to hurt me. They would rather, you know, they were smart enough to know that they were trying to set me up to be hurt. And they decided, you know, that black is, you know, we gonna stick together as black people. And, you know, a lot of times in prison, the black people, we've always done that. Well, we are smart enough when it comes down to our race, we put the gangs and stuff aside, you know, because black matters most when it comes down to it, you know, to us.
Exactly. Like you said, the adversity alone of what you had to go through just from your name alone tells. But before we even get to the what got you locked up, you joining the gang. What was that like? Why join the gang? Who initiated you, and what did you want out of it? Did you not have brother, sister? Did your mom know? What was it about it that got you in that end?
Well, honestly, for me, I think it was always in my DNA and RNA to be a leader. And the gangs was the only facet at the time that I could, you know, become a part of to be a leader. You know, I was influenced by, you know, the gang culture by associating with someone that was from that gang, because he was like a super Crip. My big homie is Hoover Dre. He's the one and only from the East Side that started Hoover HCG, you know, from the East. Yeah. He put me down, he put Pokey down, he put Lil C down, he put a few more other guys down from the East Side of Fort Worth. And then pretty much that's how Hoover spread it all over. I got many people that I put on to Hoover, then Lil C, then, you know what I'm saying, Pokey. I ain't even talked to Pokey, you know what I'm saying, because Pokey was involved in a situation with that law at Forest Hill. I don't know if you remember the history, but it was the police that got killed. Came in. Yeah, and he did time. You know, we did end up doing time together. He ended up coming to Ferguson. Pokey did. But I got put down at about like going on 13, bro. I got put on at the age of about 13. I was living on Rosedale. And the guy that I made mention of who was Dre, he was dating my sister, you know. And when I would see him, he would always have the blue flannel on, the blue Dickies, the blue Chucks, the blue strings. And, you know, and then one day, my sister's friends were Bloods, right? And they ran into my G, my big homie. And they went to clashing. And that was my first time seeing like some gangbanging, you know, because he went to, you know, hitting them up and, you know, dissing they said, and they went to hitting him up and dissing his said. And yeah, they were Bloods from Cali, and he was a Crip from Cali. And they had a clash right in front of me. So that kind of like, that was it, you know. Yeah. Like, I understand what I need to be doing, you know what I'm saying? When I seen that and I seen how he, you know, was 10 toes, because it was like 3 of them, you know what I'm saying? And he was by himself. So I respected him. I say, well, you know, he wasn't a scary dude, you know what I'm saying? Exactly. The odds could be stacked against him and he was gonna still be a Crip, you know, period. So that's why I got my, you know, stand from like seeing how a real Crip is never supposed to back down from nobody. Exactly. And that's kind of like the culture of the Crips in Texas, you know. We don't back down, you know. You run into a Crip, you gonna get what you're looking for, you know.
All right, so as far as, you know, you fighting the trial, they actually hit you with, hey, if you don't tell on them, we're going to put it on you. So that's what they got you in for.
That's what they got me for, brother.
The trial itself, was it a quick one? Was it who was there for your support and how
It was unfair. I'm gonna make mention of this doctrine, you know, because I'm gonna drop a jewel on everybody. It's called the fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine. And under the fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine, when the due process is violated, when proper procedures as far as you know what I'm saying, arrest and everything is violated, it nullifies the case. It nullifies all the evidence. But looking at the word, you know, looking at the phrase, fruit of a poisonous tree doctrine. So this means that the corruption of the police force, which was racist, you know what I'm saying, and they basically locked me up and gave me a case for just basically for the hatred of my name, qualifies me to have a lawsuit against them. You know what I'm saying? I have not sued the city yet. I have not sued the city of Fort Worth. I've just basically been trying to gather evidence. I've been trying to track down some of the family members of the case, because the case that I'm on is way, it's foul, brother. It's so foul. The police, they lied. They just dry lied. You know, they just basically fabricated the whole case. They knew the killers. They knew who did it, you know, and they let them go. They let the killers go and kept one of the guys and told him that if he would say that I did it, they would let him go as well. Yeah. That's how that worked out, brother. The system.
And this is in the 90s, so I already know.
So it was ugly.
They could get away with things like that.
Right.
Do you remember them saying guilty, them giving you the time they was going to give you? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. I remember vividly. My lawyer name was Gregory Gray. And he told me this. He said, man, they're not going to let you go. And I said, why are they not going to let me go? I'm innocent. I didn't do anything. He said, I don't know. I've talked to these people and they stuck on something that got something to do with your name. He said, but I can get you a small amount of time. He said, you can either get a small amount of time or they're going to give you the maximum. And this is how snakish, and this is where the corrupted tree, means, is because these guys, the cops, went to the victims' parents and told them to unplug their son, and they would make sure that the person that was responsible for it would get a light sentence in prison. And they showed the parents my mugshot. And you know what the parents said to them, dear brother? That's not the man. Y'all have the wrong man. Do you think that stopped the police from prosecuting me?
Man.
So you can imagine how I felt when I got out, you know, when I finally like did my bid, this false bid, and went to this zoo where everybody was trying to kill you and fight you for pretty much anything, you know, after surviving that and getting out. My sister, one of my sisters, she passed, but she came to me, she hugged me, she squeezed me so tight, and I'm like, girl, okay, it's all right, I'm all right, I survived. She was like, no, I know you didn't do it. I said, how you know I didn't do it? She said, at first I thought you did. Because nobody, you know, didn't tell us the whole story. Because, you know, they had me incarcerated and my family, we didn't have a car. They couldn't get to me. I was just down there in adult jail pretty much as a kid all alone, you know. That's how I went until I went to prison, you know. The parents was talking to my sister because she was home health for the guy that got shot, because he ended up becoming a vegetable. And he actually died, but he died later, you know what I'm saying, as a result of his shot, you know, which he didn't die at the time that he got shot. His parents chose to keep him on life support, so he was still in a vegetable state, and they still had him. You know, my sister, ain't that the most twisted jewel of fate there ever was? She ended up being a home help for the victim.
Wow.
So she said, the parents told me that the guys who did this to their son never was brought to justice. She said they sent the wrong man to prison for this crime.
It's crazy. We don't get too many stories of wrongfully convicted felons. You did those 6 years after, that was the sixth time you did 6 years. Was that the only time you've been to prison?
No.
All right. Overall, how much time did you do overall?
10 years.
I got to speak to you about, how long were you in county waiting on this trial?
About like 6 months.
Okay. Do you remember your first day walking into the prison cell? And mind you, how prepared were you for it? Did anybody before you got in there prepare you for what was about to happen?
Well, this is one of the ones, bro, because now when I first was going to prison, of course, you know, I was nervous. I wasn't afraid because, you know, I was already from a very turbulent environment. Fort Worth was a very turbulent environment. Not saying that I wasn't, but I wasn't like shaking in my boots afraid. I was just, you know, more anxious to see what, you know, what I was going to be living in, you know, what the environment was like. But the most peculiar thing that kind of almost like broke me, I'm gonna be honest, this was when we were standing in line and they were telling everybody the units that they were going to, right? And you could tell the people who were going to the unit Ferguson, because if they were really afraid, they would start crying right there, screaming, almost crying, ready to kill themselves, like they didn't want to go to that unit. So I seen all these people doing this. I'm in a line and everybody know time somebody walk down, you know, if they go into a cool unit, they ain't saying nothing, or you don't know because they quiet and they walk on. But you can tell when somebody get that bad one, because they, oh no, I'm going to Ferguson. Oh no. And they break it down like, man, oh man, I'm going to die. They gonna. I'm like, okay, man, I hope I don't go to Ferguson, you know? Yeah. So I go up there and get my paper, and my paper said Ferguson. So that, my heart dropped, bro. I ain't gonna even lie. My heart dropped. I'm like, man. But I didn't have no breakdown like those guys. But then I was, you know, the way they reacted, I knew it was a bad unit, you know?
Yeah. What was it, what was that first day in, and also how quickly did you see your first fight? Like how quick did it happen?
As soon as you go in, pretty much. Now, when I first got there, I was new, so I fought. I didn't go to Ferguson first, you know what I'm saying? I got shipped from another unit to Ferguson, and that's when I found out, you know, the first unit I hit was Michaels. Okay, I hit Michaels. I was over there with C-Man, Zoe, Anki, a few of my brothers, you know what I'm saying? I was with some Fort Worth dudes, but Hoover's one car. Hoover's one car in prison.
Yeah.
So when you go and you a Hoover or you a whatever Crip you is, you got to get in that car. Now Crips is one car, but it's broke down into the set cars. It's like one big group of cars, but it's one car.
Yeah.
So I'm in the Hoover car. So the Hoovers approached me, and it was bad when I first got there because the Hoovers was really like trying to make a statement. So when you go and you first come, you got to pretty much stab somebody. That's the initiation, You go participate, in a stabbing, to show your loyalty to Hoover. And I was told, to go and stab somebody, and I refused, because I'm like, hey, y'all can't tell me what to do, And half you dudes, I don't even know y'all. So we went, from that, I was considered a rebellion, I rebelled. So they sent, some guys, to fight me, I had to fight 4 guys. I won. Yeah, tell you that much, real life.
Come on.
No cap.
Come on.
On the Most High God, look, my guy, Joker, I won. I mean, they came in there. I always had a fighting spirit, and that's really one of the things that you really gotta have in prison is a fighting spirit. And if your fighting spirit ain't out, they gonna bring it out of you as soon as you get there. Believe that. So I already had a fighting spirit. So my fighting spirit was high, and I ran through them dudes because they kind of like sent it in an order. They had an order. They sent the toughest guy first, and then the least to the toughest guy, and then the guys that didn't really have nothing would last because it was thinking by that time you'd be out of gas, so that it would be an easier fight because the 2 toughest guys already gave you a run for your money.
Yeah. So
I ran through them, bro, real life, and I bucked the system, but then I ended up having to fight 2 more Crips. I fought Zoe, and then I fought Anki. And they was, I thought this was the speaker for Hoover. I had to fight him because he was telling me that I had to do what they said, and I'm really a G myself, so you just can't tell me what to do, And just because I came to prison don't give you the right to tell me what to do. Weak guys, they'll fall in line and be like, okay, well, Kunta was never that type of guy. I was always like, I'm gonna do what I want to do,
Exactly.
And then I face the consequences of those who don't like it.
Do the fights be sanctioned? Like when they say you gotta fight, it be like, all right, it be set up. Like, all right,
yeah, set up.
Y'all gonna go in there.
Right, 52 seconds.
Yeah.
It's 52 seconds, believe me. It's all based off the law. It's 52 seconds, 2 people. One dude is a witness, supposedly. But if you beat up the spokesman, the witness gonna get on you, go to fight on you. And so that's what happened. I beat up the spokesman, and the witness, he went to fight with me because I beat up the spokesman.
I Kunta, for that to be your first fight, just to be able to take on, 4 guys. Let me ask you, when you win fights like that, when you win against something like, all right, do they respect it immediately like that for that to be your first situation?
Of course. The respect is instantaneous. You not only be respected, but people know then that you're not, effing around,
Yeah. So that's a fight. When was it in which you seen your first stabbing?
Really, my first stabbing was really when I kind of hit Ferguson. Under the old law, of prison rules, snitches get stitches, And I'll never forget it. It was real traumatic because when I came through there, they was escorting a guy who told. And, what they do is they tell everybody to face the wall, and not to look at the person so that you can't, get their identity, So they make all the prisoners, the whole, pretty much the establishment in that area shut down, and all the prisons are under guard by law's officers, and they all make everybody face the wall, to give the prisoner time to get to the infirmary. But, a hit is always planned, it's pre-planned. So inside information gave the assailants, the time when he was gonna be escorted. So you had a couple of guys, like 3 guys waiting, but they were facing the wall, pretending, as if they were, gonna comply with what was told to everybody to face the wall. So by the time the snitch got by them, they turned around with their knives and chased after him. He went to run, and the police, were trying to, stop him. They pepper sprayed one of the dudes, but 2 dudes were, got past the cops and went to running and chasing the guy. Of course, he's handcuffed with his handcuffs in front of him, so he's defenseless basically because he can't stop him. You know what I'm saying? So he running up the hallway, and the guys get him. They stab him right here. I ain't never really ever seen, I didn't know that blood could, spill out of a person at that fast of a rate. Because when they stabbed him, it was like a water faucet had cut on, And that was probably my first gruesome scene of how real serious prison was, when, I seen that.
Do you feel that guards or COs be involved? Did it be getting tipped off?
Of course, yeah, of course. It's all inside information. That's the only way it could be, circulated to the inmates is that, some officer tells, you know that, what I'm saying? Information from the inside cannot come out unless it's by somebody who's on the inside.
It seems like, like the old adage, snitches get stitches, that you would think if they don't have a clear opportunity to commit whatever, stabbing or whatever, that they'll hold off until they could do it and get away with it. It seems like they'll blatantly do it. Even when the law is trying to stop it, they're going to get, like, what is that about? Like, because
it's called crashing out. And most of the time, the people that do that ain't getting out of prison no way, you see. So it don't matter whether the cops get them or not. The whole idea is to get the snitch. And that's, being strategic, you don't go and take somebody who's finna get out in 5 months to do that. You go and you get somebody who has nothing to lose, and they crash out, basically.
Now, most people, when they hear, about prison, the outside world just thinks like, man, you go to prison, there's an all-men prison, no women there. Men are going to get violated.
Of course.
They're going to get assaulted. You're going to hear screams and moans, whether they want it or not. Is that something that, how quickly did you see that was like the lifestyle in there?
Honestly, it's it depends on the time, the time frame, like in the early, when I went, it was kind of like going into the closet. Now, before the era of the turnkeys and building attendants, it was in the open, They didn't hide it. Nobody cared, it would happen. Now, the unit I was on, Ferguson, one of the units, I spent the most time on Ferguson. Out of all the prison stays that I went, I spent the most time on Ferguson. And this unit was very dreaded with that. There was a whole lot of men being harmed, and violated. And when I got there, the Crips, I was in the Crip Corps, of course, and we were instructed not to go to the shower.
Don't even go to.
Don't even go, because you can take a shower in your cell. You always have that option if you're smart. So I showered in my cell for the first couple of months that I was there until I got to feel my way around in that place. And I still didn't go to the shower because, it's unreal in there. And
did you ever see a situation where
I had a fight in the shower?
First of all, the mentality is like, all right, we in the shower, everybody kind of off to the left. To have a fight in the shower is just wow. What was the fight about? Like, what kicked it off?
On Ferguson, you had people who were really mentally deranged, And when I say mentally deranged, because they would look at another man's, ass or his rear end, and they would masturbate on it. And if you can fight, the dudes that do that, they know to move around. They know to get out your way. They're not going to do it around you, So the first time I decided to go in the shower was like probably one of the worst times ever because I went in there, after work to take a shower because I was hot. We just come out the fields. I went on and took a shower. Normally the Crips, we get our clothes and we just go on, go to our cells and, undress and then shower, take a bird bath or whatever, and then, get back dressed. This day I chose to go in the damn shower, my G. And there was this guy next to me, man. I never forget the creep because it was it was a punk, about a couple of stalls over, and this punk, he doing too much, he got his little tail hanging out. It's just, the scene was too bizarre for me, so I got uncomfortable immediately. Like, what in the hell, why the hell I go to the shower? And I knew not to go, but I'm thinking maybe, it wasn't gonna be no dumb shit today. Yeah. But it's always some dumb shit in that penitentiary shower. So this guy, he, now, as I'm, washing myself off, and you know how you go to rinsing yourself out, so you got to get under the water, but you smart, so you shower with your back to the wall. You never, turn around, people, would, consider that to be a homosexual move if you shower with your back to everyone.
Just to not, damn.
You can't, it's not illogical to do that in prison anyway.
Right.
Real talk,
Right.
So you shower with your back up the wall, but you still got to go under the water to wash the soap off your face and all that stuff, right? So when I got under the water, I kind of still kept my eyes open because, you're never supposed to close your eyes, even though you got water and soap going in your eyes. Probably you close your eyes be the last time you ever open them or close them or whatever, because you never know who's around you, kill you, strangle you, rape you, type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So you always keep your eyes open. I got my eyes open, and I guess he think I got my eyes closed, the guy that's next to me. So he goes to masturbating on this dude over here. But he kind of got his back to me, but he's still doing it by me. So that was it, I couldn't take it. So I howl off and go to beating him up, boom, 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 boom. I bust him up. I beat him up real bad too, And, of course the cops came, the guards, they came and, put me in handcuffs, got him, took him to the infirmary. And, I'll never forget, going to jail, inside of the shower, butt naked, handcuffed, being butt naked and going to the jail inside the jail.
Damn.
It's crazy. And my partner and them, they made fun of me. They like, we know you ain't gay,
Yeah.
And I'm like, what you mean? He said, boy, because your ass was walking and your ass cheeks was tight. Nigga couldn't tell what you was if you was Vermont, because I really was so embarrassed, and the only thing I could do was hide my ass, because my hands was behind me, behind my back. So I'm hiding my ass. I swear to God, because this was the type of unit this was, where you didn't just go out naked nowhere and Negroes wouldn't talk bad and say some funny things, So, man, that was one of the most embarrassing, but I got notoriety for it, though,
Yeah.
I got respect for it because after that, I could go in the shower and people knew to get their ass out of my way, because if they started that old psycho, madness, I would whoop them.
And mind you, you didn't even talk to him. You just hauled off on him, or
I didn't talk to him or nothing. I didn't give him a word. I just while he was beating his meat, I was beating him.
Damn.
I busted his head to the white meat. Yeah, he thought he was finna get off, but I went on and got off on him. Yeah.
Have you seen a situation, because they always look at people like fresh meat when they come in, especially like in something like a Ferguson. A lot of young kids got sent up to Ferguson,
right,
for whatever crimes they did. Did you see a situation where, like, man, that dude's an easy target, and he became an easy target?
Yeah, I did.
What happened? Like, what do you see when someone comes in? Are they talking too loud? Are they acting too tough? Or like, what is it? Are they look weak, or what?
Well, it's mainly the timidness that you see in people's eyes. It's the eyes.
Yeah.
Eyes never lie. The body language can say a lot of things, but the eyes will never lie.
Come on.
What I've done, in my years, is I've learned to watch people's eyes.
Yeah.
And another thing is, a lot of that stuff stopped with me. Even now, I could not save everybody, brother. I could not, you know. But if you came from my hometown, we was not gonna let nobody take advantage of you. You know, we didn't allow that. We didn't allow people from Fort Worth to be targeted by the bandits.
Yeah, what were the rules like you said, it's the eyes. Was it like you shouldn't look a man in his eyes? You shouldn't smile at it. You shouldn't receive offerings if somebody say, hey, I got that.
Oh, it's so many rules, brother. You know, but it's a lot of it's folklore, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of it's folklore. But it is a lot of rules. When you go in there, you're not supposed to take nothing from nobody. You know, because right when I was, you know, in the early 90s, they would say that if you be careful of the older brothers because they'll give you some food, but then they say they'll want that food back. Yeah. And they don't want it back that way. They want it back the other way.
Yeah. Are there OGs that come in and let the young dudes, like, let them know, like, hey, this what's up? Like,
yeah, I was one of them guys.
Okay.
I was one of them guys that always gave, you know, laced the young brothers up when I run into them. They from my city. I got several brothers that I ran into in prison, and I did put them under my wing, you know, because that's just, you know, a brotherhood thing that I've always had about myself was when I caught little young ones doing, you know, just fresh coming to prison, we would always teach them how to fight. Yeah. That's like the first rule is we would show them how to fight because going down there in prison, first thing, order of business is, you know, learn how to fight because you're going to fight. You're going to have a lot of fights depending on, you know, how you carry yourself. So it was, you know, it was kind of, it wasn't a bunch of that going on, you know, where they were just taking advantage of brothers because you had too many people from that city that would not allow that, you know. Yeah. And a lot of times when people tried that, those dudes got smoked off the unit. You know, they did too much trying to do that like that. They would get them off the unit because, you know, it was guys that did that there. You know?
Yeah, what you saw in county with the Aryan Brothers, did that flow over to prison system as far as the whites?
I was in the ride. Yes, it did. I was in the ride. My partner Dodo, me, K-Love, Texas Slim, Lucky, Fort Worth Junebug, quite a few guys, man. We were all on an educational block. And before they changed the rules, you know, it could be somebody, a very small person could be housed with a very big person. Yeah. And which is dangerous. Because, of course, if the big person snaps, the little person is at the mercy of being destroyed, you know. And this happened to one of my partners. You know, he got put into a cell with an Aryan brother who looked like a little Credible Hulk doll, you know. And he beat the young brother inside the head with a sock and a canned good. Oh. He was already huge, and then on top of that, he used a weapon. Beat the brother so bad he had to be care flighted. That's when your injuries are so bad that a helicopter had to come and rush you to the hospital, you know, in a rush. So they done that. The Aryan Brotherhood dude done that. And that got all the white boys beat up on the entire unit.
What is the protocol in a riot? Like the one you was in, like something like that. What is the protocol for you individual, for you, everybody in your car, for everybody? Like, what is the protocol?
Well, we just decide who gonna set it off. You know, we all, you know, we'll go to the rec yard and have a meeting, you know, talk to everybody talk, you know, we decide who's gonna be the person to take the licks, and we already done sized off who's the biggest, who's, you know, more of the threat, you know, who need to be focused on and who really ain't a problem and can go down easy.
Can someone opt out? Like, hey, I don't feel like doing this today.
No, you can't opt out. Yeah. You opt out, you pretty much, you know, you done call what they call jackmack. You know, it's a hazing term for being weak, you know, being too weak or unfit. And that'll get you in a bigger deal of trouble than not fighting. Now, of course, it's the risk of being stabbed. It's the risk of being, you know, overpowered and beat up in a ride as well. But if you say no, and it's the Crips, you know, that's considered a disciplinary action. They'll line you up for that.
When it comes to the contraband, like you said, the weapons, what type of weapons did you see? Like you like, damn, how did that get in here?
Weapons, well, most racist thing I've seen was the weapons that the white guys had. Because you would know that those weapons were brought in from the free world. So the white boys had free world knives. Black people would have to smuggle shit like metal and rods and shit from the jobs and places and file them down and make stabbing weapons out of them.
They'll bring in the knife from the regular knife.
They bring in hunting knives, big knives. Like this knife shouldn't have never. This is a free world knife. Yeah. It's craftsmanship to the knife. It's not something that you could have like a homemade look to it. It has a craftsmanship look to it. Wow. I've seen knives that had real knives that was smuggled in by some officer, prison officer.
Did you ever have to do solitary?
Yes, I did. I did solitary several times. I wasn't, I had to get my stuff together. It was brothers like Eli, that kind of, helped me get the wildness out of me because, I was down there and I was innocent. So I was aggravated. Being innocent and going to a hellhole, it aggravates you, and you want to fight everybody or you want to cause a problem or you want to buck the system. And you're always looking to slay the dragon. Yeah.
What was, for those, again, this is education, for those who've never seen what solitary is, for every prison is different, for every unit is different. What was the solitary in your situation as far as wherever you had to serve it at?
Well, solitary is basically a one-man cell confinement. And they lock you down for basically 23 hours. And you come out for recreation and you come out to shower, and that's it.
Do you get books? You
get books. You can have, reading material, writing material. You can have what's on the regular menu as far as stove. You just can't have no stuff that's like considered, dangerous. Yeah. Certain things became dangerous in prison, so they discontinued them. So they would take stuff like your hot pot, the pot that make hot water so that you could cook. Well, they wouldn't let people in solitary have them because you could throw that on a guard.
How important is it to mind your business when it comes to things happening?
It's very important because it's very dangerous. The most important aspect of minding your business is saving your own life. As serious as it is, you could put your nose in some things that could get you killed easily, get you harmed, get you smoked off the unit. People don't like nosy people. Prison is mind your own business. Basically, that's one of the rules. You gotta mind your business. You get in somebody's business and you don't got nobody to back you, you could be hurt real bad because the people that you got in their business, they mess around, send a 4-man crew like I was telling you I had to fight. And sometimes these guys are armed. When it's a friendly fade, like a disciplinary fade, they come with their hands. Yeah. But if it's an insult, like you've insulted their family or they feel like you insulted them, they're not coming with that. They coming with something that teach you a lesson like a knife.
Did you ever think of escaping?
Of course I did. I was innocent, so...
Yeah, that's what, for you being innocent, it's hardly even more like...
Right. I wanted to escape so bad. Yes, I did want to escape. But it was kind of like, it was never an opportunity to escape. And the only time I had an opportunity to escape is sometimes when we worked out in the fields, but you were never out of sight of being shot. So it really pretty much for you to run would only be guaranteed that you would be shot before you even got maybe 10 yards away.
Yeah, what was a typical work day?
A typical work day in prison was basically several things. You could be working in the kitchen, where they have to feed, all the house inmates. You could be working as a janitor, cleaning up the trash from the dorms or the cells. You don't clean up the cells, but you clean up the walkways. You could be outside maintenance. Inside maintenance, that's people that go around with tools and they fix all the broken stuff in prison. You could work in the fields. And that's probably the hardest job in prison is the fields.
You say work in the fields. For those that don't know, what does that mean as far as?
The fields is agriculture, the plant, tilling the land, being a farmer, but pretty much being a slave. So it's slave labor, big time. And it's designed to break you.
Do they ever say it's too hot today, we're not going to go to the fields today?
Well, they didn't start that until people start having medical conditions from the being overheated after working so many hours in the sun. So after people started getting real life medical conditions, having heat exhausts and heat strokes, they came, and decided to not work at certain temperatures. Like if it's like over 100 degrees, they won't work. But if it's under 100 degrees or anything close to like 90, you're getting in there.
Did you ever, some people find love in prison as far as, falling for a CEO or a female come through, she doing bad at home.
Yeah.
Did you ever have a situation?
Yeah, I had a situation. I was dealing with a school teacher. I was getting my GED and ran into this good school teacher sister that loved me, but she kind of was cool with the whole class. So she would come and she would look out for everybody. She would help us smuggle contraband in there. We was smuggling tobacco in that boy, big time. Everybody would get tobacco, wave brushes, wave caps.
Was she a white, Mexican, black?
She was black.
Heavy set, skinny, old, young?
She was mid-age. She's probably, I was a youngster then, so she's probably in her late 30s or mid-30s. My sister with some stacks, sister was put together well. She wasn't, one of those, just looking for love ones. She was bad.
Come on.
Yeah, she was. And she knew all the class liked her. We all men deprived of sex. So when she come, we go in her class, we all drooling from the mouth, like, damn, baby girl, you bad. Everybody got something slick to say. I, was the one that I guess passed off the most charm. Mm. So she started like, hey man, as the class leave, everybody will leave. She said, you stay, she told me to stay one day. Stay back, and then she kind of like, hey, now to all of my classmates, I like you the most.
So she wanted you to, work for extra credit.
Right. Yeah.
How long did that last?
Well, it lasted until I got my GED.
Oh, yeah, it's a class over.
Yeah, class over with. But I still got to come back and see her because I would go in and take other activities, and school would be going on all day in there. So I go in there and take an activity and go in, but I'm supposed to be in there, but I'm coming out to use the restroom. But I come out and I go by her class. She see me, she'll come outside and talk to me, And if I needed something, I let her know. She'll bring it to me right then, or have something for me and tell me that I just need to come up there. That's before they really kind of got, real strict on what the officers and, sweating them about, searching them and everything. Because, in the early 90s, it was good. It was, the come-in game, the smuggle game was 1,000. And then, the longer, the more time passed, the more strict and the more the rules changed. So the more hard it was. But, of course, it's always a place in a time to win if you really got some Mac skills, You gonna Mac, behind bars, just really the best place, to use your skills is behind them bars. And if you know how to talk, boy, I mean, that wasn't the only one, but that was the one that was kind of that I kind of got up on. You know, I mean, I didn't, you know, do too much, but I won from that relationship. You know, now it's other ones, you know, that I had won, but they were more on the, you know, trying to give me some they tail. You know?
Yeah.
This one, she was really more mature, and she wanted to see me win because I made a killing off them cigarettes.
Come on, man.
I made a killing off of them. I had so much food, locker, food, and all my people, you know, we was all in the same class, so we all was like connected. So everybody had something. It was like an extravaganza, you know.
Was anybody ever hating? Because I hear that some people, their wars would start over like a female's.
Yeah,
like wars would start over like a female.
That's how she ended up, you know, the thing kind of like, you know, ended on with her was that somebody ratted her out. You know, somebody ratted, she was so good. And once some hater, he ratted out and they caught her coming in with some stuff. And they searched it and found it. So they fired her and, you know, and all of that. And I think it was one of the Mexicans, you know, to be honest with you. I ain't just being real because I remember one of the Mexicans had got mad because she had brought everybody something and she didn't bring him nothing. So he was like, well, you know, if I don't get nothing, I'm gonna tell. That's what he said. So she started bringing him stuff after that, you know. But all of us wanted to whoop him, but we couldn't whoop him because if we whooped him, we knew he was gonna tell. Right then he was gonna tell for sure. We whooped him off. And cause she's in it, and you know, so we went to soft stroking him like, yeah, buddy, we gonna take care of you, man. Don't worry about it, man. You know, we got it, so you got it. You know, so, you know, us, of course, we kind of, you know, broke bread with him so he wouldn't be the rat. And then she went to shooting it to him, you know, shooting stuff to him too. And I think it was him, because he was the first one to say that if he didn't get nothing, he was gonna tell.
Okay. Was there ever a CEO that you had just a bad outing with, like one that you didn't like him, he didn't like you, and he just gave you a hard time?
It was a woman like that.
A woman like that.
Yeah. And she really was a freak. She was a nympho. Yeah. She was out of there, bro.
But she wanted it and you didn't, I mean, what happened?
I didn't want it. I've never dated a white lady ever. You know, I've never really I'm Kunta. Now, what would that look like? Kunta with the white?
That don't play well.
That don't play well. You know it don't. So I never really ran down that road, real life. I never read. My brother, yeah, he did, but my mama, she just wasn't having it. You know, so I was raised with that mentality, like run from them. So this lady really liked me a lot, and she would harass me because of the fact that I would reject her. She'd come on the thing, I would close my door, you know, and make sure that I'm in my cell with my head covers over my head. She come in the cell, pull the covers up off my head, bend over, show me her butt, acting like she's looking up under stuff, talking about she's searching. I said, well, can't you give me a chance to get out before you do all of this searching? No, you can stay right there. And then she would do all this little freaky nympho stuff, you know, in my face, trying to entice me like, oh, you know, you want this type stuff. And I'm looking at her like, man, I'm leaving. She's talking about, well, if you get up out of that bed and I'm in here searching, I'm going to tell, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to write you a major case. So I just have to sit in the cell, sit in the bed while she bent all over, show her little, you know, a little tush, you know, and all this old stuff. So it just reeked. It irked me. I was like, oh, man, I just did not like when she come. I would literally go outside, you know, and then this is how dirty she was. If I went outside, she would, when it's time for, you know, they shift break each other. So when it's time for the person that's on to go to the rec yard, one of the officers from the inside would come. She would come and break the officer outside so she could come outside and taunt me there. Yeah, she was like that.
Yeah.
She was out of control, bro. Yeah.
I have to ask Kunta, you know, and again, this is always like for an education, man. You know, they always say, you know, you got to watch out for people who have life sentences because those are the ones that will kill you. They'll take, you know, they'll violate you. They'll do all this stuff. For someone that's fresh and new into the penitentiary system, what do they need to watch out for? There's some signs they need to watch out for.
Okay. The main sign is touching, contact. Don't never let nobody walk up on you and touch you, put their hand on you, like they hugging you,
talking to you,
on you, all, you know, they're friendly. Most of the time, the contact is, they funny, you know. A man don't need to touch you to talk to you, you know. Like I'm talking to you right now and then I walk up on you and put my hand on your shoulder. You hear me now? No, that ain't it, you know. You don't do that. You walk up to a man, you speak to him, he speak to you, and that's as far as the exchange supposed to go, the exchange of words.
Sometimes that's just, is that them just seeing what you do?
It's them basically seeing if you soft. Because if they walk up on you and you let them touch you or, you know, get too close to you without saying, hey, man, you need to bag up. You need to give me my personal space or don't touch me or, hey, wait a minute, time out, you know. That's a sign of that you really afraid and you easy target then. So the main thing is always keep eye contact with people, you know, to let people know that you're very serious about, you know, standing your ground as far as being a man on your own 10 toes. And then as far as just, you know, the whole survey of the scene, looking at people, always watch who you're around, you know. Always look at everybody, you know, because, you know, you never know who's sitting around either looking at you crazy or plotting, you know, on hurting you.
When you say look at everybody,
look at everybody
looking around, and if they lock eyes with you, you supposed to, do you stare back or do you?
Yeah, you absolutely stare back. You know, because the stare down thing is serious. You know, and when you look off from a man, that's another sign of cowardice. A stiff man, you look at me in my eyes, I'm gonna keep looking at you, and you gonna have to look away.
Oh, so it's almost. It's a stare down to where like it could go on for multiple like seconds. Like
it can go on as long as I feel, and then that's the energy. Then when you see a man staring at you and will not stare away, that means what you talking about and what you want to do. But when a man looks away, like that means I'm afraid. So never look away from somebody. Always maintain eye contact. You know, and show somebody like, you know, the sincerity of the lack of fear, you know, because in prison, the everybody can smell fear. Fear is so easy to smell and detect, and so is tension.
Mm. They used to always say, when you walk in, if you knew, find the biggest dude, just knock him out, or just go up and fight the biggest dude, right?
No, that's folklore.
Yeah.
The biggest dude could be a homosexual, bro. You know, so don't fight the biggest dude, because the biggest dude could be the biggest homosexual with AIDS virus. Gotta pick and choose your fights in there, bro. What I learned now, you know, what I learned from, you know, the old people that gave me the game about prison, they was like, always be careful and pick and choose your fights. Don't be so quick to fight somebody unless it's necessary, you know. And you don't have to run in there and hit the biggest dude upside the head, because that's not gonna do nothing but make people afraid of you and make them know that they're gonna have to eventually do something to you, just like you did something to that big old dude, you know. So some people rule by intimidation, some people rule by fear, some people rule by respect, you know. And that's the moves too. Some people move by intimidation, some people move by fear, some people move by respect. Yeah. And the best way to move is by respect, and the best way to lead is with respect. Yeah. The rest of that stuff is all crash out. Mm. It's all crash out.
You know, when we do these prison stories, and again, I appreciate you even coming here to sit down and speak with us. When we have these conversations, we always try to leave each individual sit down with something to advise these young kids, these YNs out here, these crash out them, is these people who are taking penitentiary chances. Any words that, you know, because we always want to deter, this is just an education. We want to deter people that even have to ever go sit down and give his time away. Any words of wisdom you could give to the young kids out here that's even out here taking penitentiary chances right now?
Well, first of all, the penitentiary chance is not worth what you sacrifice. A lot of times our little brothers don't understand the gamble. that they're taking when they, pick up a gun or decide to commit a crime. The same type of energy that you're using to pick that gun up or to commit that crime, you should be using that same type of energy to impair yourself in some form of education or vocational behavior and activity. Our little brothers need to spend more time trying to educate themselves rather than eliminate themselves. See, the streets, it teaches us a way of survival, but that way of survival entails elimination, self-elimination. We have to stop thinking that the streets is the only way out of this problem. It is not. Sometimes, and most of the times, the people who make it out of the streets, they don't be in their right mind. They get all that money and then just a meltdown and become some weirdo or creep, So be careful about thinking that the rags and the roads to the riches is the streets. It's not. The rag and the roads to the riches is it's for people who understand how to fly correctly. You fly crooked, you crash, basically. And the streets is a crooked way of flying. And we got to start teaching our little brothers that the streets is not it. That's not it. Streets is a place where it was for people who were very, very poor and had no chances. The world has changed. There's so many opportunities for the little brothers if they would just put some effort and basically use their own vigor to go in another direction. And it's not enough guardrailing going on by the elders, by the brothers who've been down that road. We spend more time glorifying this prison experience rather than rectifying and showing brothers another route. The other route is doing the right thing, choosing not to break the law, choosing not to pick up a gun, because my thing is guns down and gloves up. I teach this everywhere I go to all the brothers that I know. I tell them, hey, man, it's easy to fight somebody, and y'all walk away versus killing somebody and he's dead and then you got to go to prison. We lose there. But when people fight, they either respect each other or they respect each other enough to where they leave each other alone. That's how that works with a fight. And some of my best friends, I fought them, because you never know someone until you fight them. I've learned that, So I tell brothers all the time, it's better to put up your dukes rather than to pull out that switch. We got to stop the hat talk, the hat talk out here in the streets that's detrimental to our growth and development. We cannot continue to let this lingo, run unchecked. This is where, it's like brothers like the brothers who are journalists, the brothers who promote media and information. It's tied into that. It's tied into our music, the frequency of the music, and the media, because the media, the brothers is showing all of this violence. I'm seeing all these bloggers, I'm seeing all these brothers, and most of what they talk about, is the mess. They're not talking about the success stories in the community where brothers like that were gangbangers and turned into electricians, turned into truck drivers, turned into barbers, turned into real estate owners, home builders. Nobody's talking about those stories. They only talking about the stories where somebody done spun around or somebody done got had it. That's real. We got to change the narrative. And the only way we're going to stop the violence in the community is stop promoting it socially and digitally. We promote it. We're doing more of the damage to ourselves than the people who we think we're against by promoting all this bad information. Now, they could say, well, we got to tell people the truth. I don't knock that, but there should be some form of censorship for children. I don't think, I think a phone is a dangerous weapon for a child, for a kid, for a teenager. It's a dangerous weapon. Yeah. And I don't think a a child should have a phone until they're of a mature age because of all the immorality and all the filth that's associated with that demonic device. I have a phone, but I only use the phone in a sense of how I want to use it because I'm in charge. I'm a master of my own destiny. But everybody is not enlightened and everybody don't understand the dangers of the phone. And if we continue to let our children have these phones unchecked,
Volatile.
it's already there, because information is a germ. And the wrong information, if the wrong information is infected, what happens?
Come on.
Okay, so we have to send out information that's going to heal these broken minds because the information is the reason why the minds are broken in the first place.
That's some real stuff. No, hey, I hope they're picking this up. I hope they're picking this up, what you're putting down, man. So I got to say it, first and foremost, I appreciate you coming on and giving these stories and thank you for the words of wisdom, man. Again, OG Kunta. Man, we're only scratching the surface right now. We're only scratching the surface. And that's why I want to do this as an introduction. And I know there's so many more stories to tell, for the time that you did, but we're going to circle back to it. This is going to be more of an introduction, but I do appreciate you once again for coming on Prison Stories.
No doubt, my G.
I appreciate it, man.
No doubt.
OG Kunta, man.
Appreciate you, bro.
I salute you, man, for real.
100, man.
Let's go.